Angola, Ito Banani Capra. So I am party of India. The indentureship on this level, find together to resist unity. There was no more mother Africa, no more mother India, just mother Trini. My Bahuka Japlanted sugar cane, down in the Jaroni plain. So Ramlog and Bastel Bakashana. Brotherhood on the board. Brotherhood on the board. Bahuka had to make that journey for I to have sympathy. So it is a great privilege to have such unique heritage. 50% Africa, 50% India. I have no duty to holiday, emancipation and arrival day. Since Matel Razak made a journey, 150 years gone already. So whether you're Hindu, Muslim, Christian, let's walk this man.
Fanfare. Planting cane, cutting cane, planting rice, minding baby, walking. We work hard to mind with 10 children. I have 10 children and they die. I have 4 brothers, and my 4 brothers dead. And sister, 2 sisters. 2 sisters. The 2 sisters dead. Gangadaya and Sonny Boy mother. And me, Mixi. And my mother had typhoid fever. She dead, she left 2 little child. I never go to school. I had to see about my brother and sister. My bigger brother, maybe bigger brother to buy the sago and put me in the hammock to don't come down from the hammock and wash the child bottle right in the bucket. And you don't come down from the hammock, the 2 little child, my mother dead. And my big brother, the fully bottle right and wash the bottle right and leave the 2 child bottle. And when they mess up my whole dress, can't get it. A smile and stupid. Well, dal bhat and bhaji. I mean, began to cook, I can't cook. My mother then, and being stepfather, being a lady, and then I start to learn to cook.
What is your favorite food now? What do you like to eat now?
Well, I like to eat dal puri, chana and aloo, and bhaji and dal and rice. I like to go wedding to cook. I do friends. I like to cook palsad and things. Like to do. You know, I do palsad and things. I like to cook. Make kurma, make balpi. I like to cook palsad. And then she gets to help me make. Child, if I tell you Mike doesn't work, you don't go believe. Me get up 3 o'clock night. Me cook food. I cook for whole day, dal and rice and bhaji and roti. I have workman, he come 5 o'clock. I give him food, I eat food, we go 6 o'clock garden. Make a little garden thing, going soon. 11 o'clock, we come back home. Give the man $200, not $200. Yeah, give food, eat.
Money. Money and food. Like,
I like to go garden. I like to pick bhaji, go in the market. Me alone are there in my house. Rocking hammock. I like to go market, talk and laugh with people. All my children dead. 10 children. 2 living. One boy has stroke. My big son has stroke. And me daughter don't talk. Me I talking the truth. One me daughter and me don't talk. Well, I tell my young children, I have a little piece of land. I give them, they build their house, they have their wife and children, they walk in and they eat it. Nobody for nobody. Me cook me food, we go garden, we go wedding, we go prayers. I go wedding. I go anywhere I go somebody has to kill me, go and bring me come. Me forgetting to travel.
and who does carry for the pension? Who does carry for the pension?
My pension, my brother daughter-in-law named Marina. He carry pension, he buy the goods, bring it and pack it in the house. She buy all my goods for the whole month. Every month she go for me pension. Who I go tell? I want a dress, she have to come on back.
And you're real stylish too. Looking very nice.
Well,
You like nice clothes. You love nice.
my daughter-in-law, bye.
You're from long time.
I like nice clothes. I like nice food.
Very good. Like nice. For the fact she carries the restaurant once a month. Okay.
Good evening, TNT family. Welcome back to you. Yellow is the code on UNC USA, and I have my friend here, Mr. Suman Singh. Welcome, Mr. Singh, back. There's a little history for four parents and the
Yes,
sacrifice. And this lady's, I think she's 104, 105 years old, and she outlived her children.
wow.
Yeah.
Could you imagine 105 years old? That means she
Yeah.
was born in 1920.
We have to find
Wow.
out. She says she eating dal and bhaji and things. So I'm gonna stick with the dal and the bhaji and leave out the meat.
I myself. And what she said there was very, very synoptical of, a lot of East Indian families like that in that era. They live simple lifestyles, they work hard, and whatever joys of life was within the family, they never go out much, other than exactly what she said, prayers. She went prayers and she went weddings and so on. But that was about the social life you had. Now she says she enjoys going to the market so she can talk to people, because there's no one, apparently there's no one, children and so on around to keep up company.
Everybody going about their business. Yeah.
Everybody going about their business.
But it's very admirable to see these things, and get a little feedback, from them.
Yes. As I say, it's reminiscent of our old grandparents as well. They work hard, very hard, to be where they are today. And I think you show a little clip. Was that from Nelson Island?
I'm not sure. I know they went to Nelson Island. I have there was an event there, with a reenactment type of thing.
Yeah.
Some of the politicians went over there, and
Yeah.
there's also I'm trying to pull up. There's something where I saw Barry had where the Indian High Commissioner invited them to an event also.
It was in Nelson Island, and he invited them to Nelson Island. Yeah. I don't know if you have been there. It's pretty nice. Nelson Island is designated a heritage site under the National Trust of Trinidad and Tobago. So it's
Well, that was the clearinghouse, and I saw a picture of a hospital there. They put a sign where there was a hospital for those who arrived sick.
yes,
And I would have to get some clips on it. Maybe tomorrow I'll be able to get some of that, that information.
Yeah, that is quite right because there was a hospital there because it was a quarantine station for the East Indian laborers who came. So that was they were stored there and identified by name.
Yeah, so
Yes,
here's some pictures with Barry and the team over there.
yes, yes. It's a
So,
very lush landscape and a lot of nature, natural attraction. Yeah, Gary just made me yes,
so that looks like Nestle Island there, right?
yes, that is. They had a quarantine station there. As I was saying that, when the Indians first came, they were checked to see if they had any illnesses and so on. That's why you see the hospital would have been there initially, and then it was an immigration center. So you were recorded, that you came on the island of Trinidad and Tobago, and your
Yeah, that
names.
was your immigration checkpoint there.
Yes, it was the immigration checkpoint. So your names and so on was taken down, and then came to the mainland and allocated to the various estates. So that's how it all started.
Welcome, Darren. Welcome, Arnold. Welcome, Jacob, Riaz, and everyone. Yes, Darren, we're going to get to that tonight. Go ahead, Mr. Singh.
Yeah, so initially that was the first landing point, the point of embarkation for Trinidad for East Indians coming from Kolkata across the Kalapani and arriving at the final destination. This final destination was Trinidad, mainland Trinidad, and the assignment was to the various estate owners, plantation owners, as the case might be. And, life started from there in a new land. So that is a little historical perspective of it was East Indians. It's 180 years this year, so it's quite a journey from whence they came to where their offsprings, including us, are today. We may not be in Trinidad, but we are, proud Trinis as well. I'm sure you are.
Well, they took me out of Trinidad, but they didn't take my mind and heart out of Trinidad.
Correct.
So,
Same.
as you can see with me,
Mm-hmm.
I am still consciously in Trinidad. I'm just physically in the United States.
Same with me, Gary. I think a lot of our, people who came and migrated and so on to US, Canada, Europe, and so on, the feeling is the same. It's at this time of the year, it's a nostalgic feeling, the same as Carnival and Christmas and the various Diwali and Eid and all the various holidays. You begin to feel like, you're missing out on these things, and your memory takes you back to when you were a kid and so on, how you enjoyed the various celebrations.
Yeah, Mr. Singh, seeing all this good food here, you
Yeah,
know, you know what makes me tell them they what they can do with this place here, right?
yes, yes,
And
yes.
so
You
we
know.
just have we have a few minor, we have the crime to deal with, we have the healthcare to deal with. These are the two major factors, right?
Yes,
Then we
yes.
will fix the, the ease of doing business with the government and the education and things like that. But the two main factors for us as people who are staying out of the country is crime and the healthcare, you
Right.
know?
You're quite right. And now there's a third element as well to that needs urgent attention is to start finding money because without funds you cannot do anything. So those are the three imperatives the government has to start trying to get a handle on now. I think the honeymoon period is just about a month, and you could consider the honeymoon finished and serious work has to be starting. Some has started already. I'm so glad to see that based on the last um, report we got. So it augurs well. It looks good, promising. There's hope. We shouldn't be giving up because, as the Prime Minister said, her team is out to work. They are out to work. So let's wish them the very best and hope that things can be brought under some semblance of reasonableness as far as crime and health goes, because the crime situation is really the core problem to be solved. And
Yeah, you're not safe in your own house, in your place of business. You can't walk the street. I mean, look, I mean, I mean, we have seen ongoing issues with it, you know?
yeah, and one wonders how come and why did it escalate and reach this far? With all the resources being pumped into the Ministry of National Security, yet they were never able to get a handle on the criminal elements. And this is what bothers me. You throwing good money and bad results is what the outcome was. So clearly, whatever they were doing failed, despite trying to say that they have so much legislation
I
in
would, I
place.
mean, we have seen so much money spent, Mr. Singh, right? Um, and we don't see that money, we don't see the results for the money. Our police force has become more deteriorated, and there's chaos within the management of the police force. We have heard too many complaints, and people will want to jump up and defend this, but it exists. It destroys the confidence of the citizens. We have good people in the police force. I mean, I have friends and relatives there, but the thing about it, we have those elements that are very damaging. And I'm a person of, they say your name is the greatest value that you ever could have, right?
Yes.
And no matter how much money you have, your name destroyed, you're done. So I mean, reputation of the TTPS for me, and the uniform is of higher priority. So I mean, you destroy the reputation for your own selfish gain, and that is something for me cannot be acceptable. And those in the force should work towards flushing them out because they are embarrassing them. They are destroying the reputation of their hard work. This cannot be.
And that in itself has repercussions to the other ministries as well, including trade and investment and tourism and transport and what have you. Not to mention the overseas image of Trinidad and Tobago. That has suffered a lot, taken a beating over the past couple of years. And tell me, which investor in their right mind would want to go down and set up shop in such a crime-riddled environment? I mean, the reports we get here and I see in the newspaper from time to time, it's like it's a free for all. And you can see that in all these, U.S. bulletins, immigration bulletins warning citizens about visiting Trinidad. And I feel very embarrassed when I see that over here, where there are warnings not to go in this area, not to go in that area. Be careful when you're traveling. Don't wear any exorbitant jewelry and all this sort of warning the American citizens about the crime situation there, and it reflects bad on us as Trinis that why has our country allowed to deteriorate to such an extent? So there's no.
Yes, Darren, I did address that last night, and I'm about to reiterate that they are more concerned about law-abiding citizens getting a pistol permit than the
Yes.
criminals running around the country with heavy automatic weapons.
Yes, and that is why the FUL license is so critical at this juncture, because that is one of the options available for the government, along with other options as well. That is not a cure for all. It is just an option to be tried to, if you can call it, level the playing field, but it's not a playing matter. It's a serious matter. It involves life and death. It involves robbery. It involves assaulting of your family and friends and children and so on. So this is no playing matter. So if someone is asked to defend oneself, what is so wrong with it? Why is the question not asked? Why are the criminals so heavily armed? And what has caused this in the first place? So you're trying to put the onus on the citizens, law-abiding citizens. You're trying to make them feel like they're the one to be blamed and not the criminals. So if someone, has to get a gun to defend himself, so be it. Once they go through the correct procedures, do the regular means tests and so on, that to show that you are capable of handling a gun, it levels the playing field a little bit. At least you have an option to defend yourself. As the Prime Minister said, you could empty the clip that time.
This is the most recent arrest by the police, right?
Yeah, wow.
And where are the big mouth criminologists and the sophisticated lawyers trying to knock down the Prime Minister on trying to equip citizens to defend themselves? This is the most recent confiscation by the police and arrest equipment. Now tell me, what chances you have with a weapon like this, and you can't even get a pistol permit? And this is the least of it. There are many more out there.
Yeah, that looks like a really, killing machine from the appearance and the bullets and so on. It's frightening. I mean, that, to say the very least.
Well, maybe we should upgrade and allocate these to the citizens to defend their homes.
That might, then we could say the playing field is level at that time. With sophisticated weaponry like this, you're like a sitting duck, my friend.
Our citizens are under heavy duress. Heavy duress.
And
we cannot operate a business in peace.
As you rightly said, where were the intellectuals when these things were happening? This didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen over the past 2 years. It happened over a longer period of time. And who was in charge of when these things were allowed to take place? Is there a cartel that sees about this thing? Is it for their betterment? Was the cartel beneficiary to make sure that TNT remains in an unstable environment, so that contracts for security and so on can be given out to various companies? One must ask the questions. But again, where were the intellectuals at that time, over the past period of time? Where were they? I think yesterday we spoke about the PIP. And I'm beginning to wonder if that was the order of the day. So somebody had to be benefiting a lot from the criminal activity. So there was no incentive to lessen the crime situation. The borders remained wide open. There were no scanners in the port to scan these containers coming on. Remember, a lot of these things could have come in legally through the ports of entry, through the legal ports of entry, because of the absence of scanners.
Yeah, that's one option, but the border is wide open, so you don't even have to go through the port of entry. Any pirate could come in there within minutes, in and out of the country.
Yeah, the porous borders, and I keep on saying, was this deliberately done for the benefit of those who had the cartel and the drug running trade? You see, so it is in their interest, some, to keep the borders as porous as possible, to get the guns out in the streets, and have the various security companies just come and fly by night. Everybody needed to have security at that time, including government offices. Imagine a guy in the airport 2 weeks ago, he just landed and they just shot him dead at the airport itself. I mean, we've seen I will say, the bold-facedness of these criminals.
But this is the atmosphere that the PNM nurtured and they constructed and nurtured in the country. And they have the audacity to talk. They have the audacity to talk.
And
the management of the police force is unreliable. You're taking a real chance. It's like playing the lottery when you're calling the police. I recently came across a situation where a certain individual make a report about their child being harassed, and the individual is threatening to shoot the person, right?
Yes,
and nothing done by the police. Nothing done by the police. So what are you going to come when somebody's already dead?
Well,
I have a philosophy that justice doesn't resurrect the dead. The police will reach when you're dead.
Yeah. But as I say, the FUL is one aspect, one of the pillars, so to speak, of trying to get the crime under control. There are other things, other aspects that need to work concurrently with these things to make a dent initially on the murders and the robberies and what have you.
First of all, the people need a police force that's reliable in their community, right? You need a lead person there to work with your councillor and your MP to help mobilize that municipal area. That long as you obtain the trust of the citizens, you will have the participation. But when evidence is given to the police and is relayed to the criminals, people that broke down the trust there, So this is one of the major issues. So we have to revamp the police administration, number one, because they have poorly supervised those under them. So they have to be held accountable for that.
Quite correct. And this only lends, semblance to the fact that they want to bring back the community policing. And that was an effective measure implemented in the past PPG government. Because a lot of people lauded that initiative as having some impact on the crime and criminality going around. Because if you employ, once people from the community are employed, they know basically everything, where the hotspots are and who does what and whatnot, have you. So by having these regular patrols, community policing patrols, is an effective way to stop it at its roots. Don't let it escalate from stealing vegetables in the neighbor's garden and then going on to bigger things. You don't graduate, at the next level, and then you keep on graduating at higher and higher and higher levels until you become an experienced criminal. So these things have to be nipped in the bud. And there are other factors as well that needs to play into this. The criminal justice system has to be definitely has to be revamped. The question of reschooling and trying to teach people and have persons involved in the policing aspect, and you could do that through the police youth clubs and so on. You get have your football teams, cricket teams,
the community structure has collapsed.
Yes, so
I mean, and they want to talk.
So unless you do that, that's what I'm saying. It's a multi-pronged approach. So people will judge this firearm user's license as a solution. Well, it's not a solution to the extent that you need to have the other arms of security working hand in hand with this thing. What is the chance of you committing a crime and getting caught in Trinidad? Do we know? 4% or 5%? Then if it's like that, I'm prepared to take the risk. It's a risk-reward situation. And if there's a 4 or 5% chance I will get caught or I might get caught, then my odds are pretty good. I have a 95% chance of succeeding in whatever I'm going to do. Illegally, of course. So this is it. So they first you have to find the criminals, then they convict them, and then sentence them.
We have a lot of work to do. This government
has
a
lot of work. There's a lot of social reform programs and so on.
And while we're working on the social and all the additional things, we have to work on the preventative first priority.
Yes, that's agreed. That is why the education system becomes important. And, discipline, as you see in the school system, is getting out of hand for the longest while now. And this is where it all starts. From the home, from the school, interacting with other junior criminals, I would say, and then graduating to the higher levels of crime. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, all these school dropouts and what have you. We don't have some sort of remedial activities for them to reform themselves. Where's the role of the church and all the various temples and mosques and all these things? The school can only do so much. What's the role of the parents?
Well, government has failed to lead. This is what we have. Government has failed to lead.
Collapsed. It has collapsed. The economy as well, So once the economy is collapsed and things get harder, then the criminals get more and more brighter and brighter. And they feel that there is need. Society owes them something. That society owes us because we don't have anything that gives us license to go out there and commit, whatever criminal activity we see fit. And this is the point. So if the home is not playing its part, the schools can only do so much. I'm sure no schools that will go and fight outside, fight in the classroom, break up chairs, even fight the teachers and these sort of things. That's where it started. This is a young generation, and when they graduate from school, what is the next line of action? So you see, it's a never-ending process. Everybody wants a nice life, the high life, the luxurious life, but nobody willing to work for it. So they say, so-and-so has this thing. Yes, man, that I should have that. It's easy for him to get a gun and do what he has to do. So it's a whole process that has to be started because there were obviously no real efforts.
Well, my thing, I'm telling you, my biggest thing is the deterrent and prevention. Because if we maintain the patrols and we are swift with the response, this is half of the problem done there.
Yes, and if you could get conviction and put them away according to the law. If you have to change the law, you change the law, whatever it is. I guess the peace of society Depends
What's
on
the
you.
sympathizers the suicide they on?
Oh yeah, you never come out from the woodworks and the starters. They're on the criminal side, of course. I know. So you, as a law-abiding citizen, you have little or no control. All the rights belong to these guys.
Yeah, rights to come in your house and brutalize you.
Yep, and you don't have nothing to defend yourself with. So these so-called intellectuals, that is their perception, you know, and a lot of them are in
dollars and
disagreement.
approximately $2,000 in cash. They then escaped in a waiting vehicle. Police are continuing inquiries.
Yeah.
2 St. Julian Village, Princestown. Mini-marts, close to each other, were robbed within minutes of each other on Thursday night. In the first incident, Little Stop Mini-Mart was robbed by 3 men shortly after 8 p.m. The owner told police 3 men entered the shop, one wearing a fisherman's hat and one with a gun, and announced a robbery while choking him. The bandits robbed him of 2 gold chains valued at $11,000 and $2,000, a pair of Jordan sneakers valued at $2,000 and approximately $2,000 in cash. They then escaped in a waiting vehicle. Police are continuing inquiries.
This is how it is, my
Yeah,
friend.
Mr. Singh.
Yes, things are really out of hand, and we need to really find some quick wins and put a dent in some of these activities.
Where was the voice of those who were criticizing the Prime Minister? Where is the voices of those on these matters?
Where's the voice of the criminologists who will say, oh, you should not do this, you should not do that, you should not do this. And they continue over and over and over again. And these are the things you need to address. And when it's addressed, the same thing happens, continually happening. So that means it's a failed system. You know, some things work, yes, no doubt. You could reform people, I agree. But when that stage has passed, where they go back and do repeat criminals over and over and over again, if you check the statistics, you will see that this is not, crime is not a one-off thing. They just graduate from one level to a next level to a next level to a next level. You know, and if you check the records of some of these criminals, you will see that they are wanted for 5 and 6 and 10 and 12 crimes. You know, so it's not for one thing only. A lot of, if you see someone shot by the police, you will see how many, you know, warrants they have for them, how many charges of robbery with aggravation, killings in the past, and they're still free. That's why I'm saying the detection rate is so poor, and the elimination risk is, you know, we don't, I mean, hanging would be, to me, will be a deterrent if it's introduced. I don't know what the law says. I know they have the Patrick Morgan ruling, but if that is the case, can we change the law to suit and bring this country back into a state of normalcy where citizens can at least breathe a little bit more freely? If the legislation needs to be passed, let's pass it, you know, and leave the naysayers and those who are against it. Let them, you know, only when something happens to them or one of them, then you begin to see some little bit of outrage. But as of now, once they're living, you know, as we are today, then it's always the citizens' fault, the law-abiding citizens' fault. You are basically.
I mentioned here a few days ago about the judge who gave the landlord 4 years for
Yeah.
obtaining a legal gun because the government failed to protect him.
Yeah. So you should let loose some of the criminals to live in this area. Then he will, or whoever it is, you will see then you will get a more direct response. You see solutions at that time coming on for the various, so-called intellectuals. But right now, once none of them are affected by this, hey, let's let it go as it's going. Now, this is a very serious issue. And just think that once this thing continues like that, who, as I said before, who is coming to invest in your country? How many tourists are you going to get? Then what's the sense of promoting your tourism departments and so on if there's so much criminal activity? I mean, a small island, 1.4 million people, and we can't get a handle on crime. Something must be wrong. A guy from Trinidad who I happen to know very well, I was chatting with his cousin, and he said, you know what, man? We should be hanging people every day in every community, every single day in every community, and invite the kids to see the hanging. Let parents bring their kids along so they will see, so and so committed that crime. What was the crime? Read out the crime so the little kids will understand and see. You say a system like that is what is needed to curb this thing. Sometimes I think he may be right. If this is what it's going to take to quell the situation, because if they know that I have a 95% chance of not being caught, and even when I am being caught, there are delays in the legal system before I can get trial as 10 to 12 to 15 years out. So it's approaching hopelessness, I don't know if you have anything more to add.
Yeah, we saw former Minister of National Security paid a visit to the Ministry of National Security, now under Homeland Security, and they say they were trying to access some files. So apparently, our Minister of Defense had to be pulled out of a cabinet meeting to address the issues. First of all, why was he allowed? You see, the tentacles of the PNM is still within the structure. The loyalty is there.
Well, it's always been said, we may have lost the election, but we're still in power. And this is exactly what they mean, that the influencers are in all tentacles of the various ministries. They get all the feedback, they get everything, what your plans are, what it is, what is the approach, how your guy is going to do it, who is going to benefit from it. They know everything. So they have a right to say that, we have lost the election, but we remain in power. And this is what they really mean. The tentacles are deep and far and wide. How can a minister, an ex-minister, be allowed to reach, or I should say, get to this level of reaching the
security clearance. Why was he granted? And those involved has to be dealt with. And I think, according to what I understand, is some of those who entertained him are being disciplined at this point.
Discipline is not the point, Discipline. The action has to be taken. Why? You breach the law.
Yeah, well, you have to revoke the. I mean, I think
that's right.
Security clearance
this is the thing. This is the point I'm trying to make. You just discipline them or putting somebody no pay leave. That doesn't make sense.
Well, they're being addressed. I know their security clearance has been revoked. I think it was 3 of them.
Revoked, and they say their security clearance should be revoked and terminated because of breach of duty. So you have to start to assign penalties for these things. Because I'll tell you what, a lot of the ministries and a lot of the public servants, long entrenched public servants, they can stall a lot of these projects or planned projects. They will do is all the delaying tactics to make sure you do not succeed. And this is especially true for the new ministers. They may laugh at you thinking that, yes, yeah, on my side, you will work along and so on, and it will be all for the good of people, good for the country and so on. But they can stall you all the way along. And I have always maintained, as they do it here in the US, when a new administration comes, a new set of people comes along to ensure that this present government gets the job done, meaning whatever they promise to do in their manifestos or manifestos, that you accomplish these things, because that is what they're going to be judged at the end of your term. So now is what, 2025? Okay, you say you're going to build X amount of schools. Okay, better be ready in 2029 or 2030 to say, yes, I've accomplished 80% or 90% of these things. You will never complete 100% of anything, because there will be stumbling blocks and other challenges along the way. But you will be judged for your performance. And we need to be cognizant of that. So how do you break that bottleneck?
So here I have some great news. The young lady that we advertised here who
Oh,
needed help
yes.
in getting the
Yes.
funding, the country responded, very wholeheartedly and effectively. And I want to thank everyone that did so by assisting this young lady. See, when our young children is doing the right things, you have to support that.
Of course. Of
You know,
course.
and these are the kind of things that we know our prime minister stands for. And as soon as she gets things sorted out, you will see more coming towards our children.
Yeah, but I guess the previous regime never liked children because they cut the source out from the beginning. Let me personally thank
Well,
all
they
those.
are for themselves, These were a group of people who were for themselves, and if you take a deeper look into what was provided for them, their families, and their children, their children, etc., is that you will see that they got the best, but it's just that yours wasn't getting it. So this is
Yes.
a government for all our people, all.
So, well, starting from the laptops where they started cut, they hated the children so much.
And you've seen some parents ignorance of the fact of what the laptop can do for their child. They
Well,
are refusing. They are making a fuss about it, and they have been. I'm sure they're being influenced, by others, and misunderstanding what this is really about and what the prime minister is trying to do for your child, right? And how they lack the understand how critical this laptop could be. I don't care if your child ended up going to be a housewife; she should be an educated one.
yes, and not only the parents, I see the president of the Teachers Associate tutor. He was advocating
Well, he was the biggest
same
idiot of all time.
this similar scenario. But the prime minister said it clearly. If you don't want it, you don't have to accept it. So what is big brouhaha about?
Yeah.
If you think your child does not need a computer, don't accept it. That's all. Let him be left or her left behind in the classrooms and will not be able to use technology, and see what when they enter the world of work, see what it entails. So then at that time you say, oh, they didn't like me, they don't like women, or they don't like my color of the skin or my hairstyle, or they make all the excuses why. But they will not say they not meet the threshold for gaining meaningful employment because I do not know how to use a computer in my world of work. They will not say that, but they will make all the excuses, you know. So the Prime Minister made it quite clear. Just like the FUL, you don't want it, you don't have to apply for it.
So one of the things I'm proposing here is that we organize some kind of a training classes so that people understand the use of the weapon, they are comfortable with it, they know how and when to fire the weapon. There has to be a safety and a self-defense class aligned with the FUL program. You could get into a battle with somebody invading your house and you start to fire that weapon helter skelter, it's in your own family. So there's a lot of training and practice that has to take place. You don't just how to say, assign a weapon and that's the end of it. There has to be some training classes conducted. And this is where the TTPS can help.
Yes.
And the TTPS has to work with our law-abiding citizens. They have to engage our law-abiding citizens. They have to build a trust with our law-abiding citizens. We need our municipal representative, the councillors and the MPs also to come on board with community policing. Community policing doesn't just stop with those who are hired by the municipal corporation. There has to be an all-inclusive agenda here and a plan structure where everyone in the community that's law-abiding and trustworthy can come on board and work together in deterring the crime. Our first primary objective is to prevent the crime, create all the deterrence possible.
Well said, Gary. I'm totally in agreement with you there, you know. But it's a handle. You need to get a handle on this because that now will impact where the country is heading. Because we can't generate any sort of foreign exchange inflows because no one is be willing to come and invest here if the crime rate is this bad. We
have to reorganize ourselves now, Mr. Singh, from foreign exchange or not, we have to eat, right? And this is where it is absolutely essential. Just as what I'm seeing being done right now is the Ministry of Agriculture, the Minister of Local Government, Minister of Works, and I think planning might be there also already, where they are working in collaboration to resolve these issues so we can get up and running a mass food production plan.
Yeah, but I agree with you, Gary, and that this will take time. You know, it will take at least a couple of months, well, because things will...
Yeah, but that will come in faster where you're feeding the population and nobody's going hungry in your country, and while you work out the other factors.
Yeah, but it just goes to show the extent of disruption caused by the criminal activity. As I was saying, nobody is going to come here to invest. No tourist is going to come. So what is happening? You're literally shooting yourself in the foot because once you do
you invite guests? Do you invite guests to a nasty house? Do you bring guests to your yard and your house is nasty, or you have to clean up the place? Same, and it should be the same.
That's my feeling. Then why we have in a ministry? People were clamoring, hey, why are we not having a ministry of tourism? We have TTAL, Agency for Tourism in Trinidad, and one in Tobago. But Tobago is a different scenario, but let's deal with Trinidad more first. Why do we have this? Because what is your advertising and promotion going to be? Come to Trinidad and get what? The thing is that the world has changed, you know. Foreigners have so much information at their fingertips that just one headline in your country will determine whether they will come to visit your shores or go to your competitor, a another of your competitors in the Caribbean as an option. So then you begin to lose.
We have lost lot of millions of dollars in tourism because we fail to maintain the facilities. We fail to provide a safe environment. I mean, look at the roads. Look when you try to enter a beach area, how the place is not properly maintained, and you have to put lifeguards in place. You have to put well-trained lifeguards in place. You have to have the equipment in place. You have to have the
Yes,
patrol in place. And it's something that I'm looking for is that we go forward when we can get the funding with the beach police.
yes. Well, there is a separate type of policing called tourism-oriented policing, TOP. I introduced that a couple of years back in Tobago, 2004.
Like how we have the park police here,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
the park rangers are law enforcement. They are state law enforcement officers, and
same, same concept.
we need to look into this concept.
Yeah, the
So
same
they can
concept.
patrol the beach and they can patrol the by the river, by Cora, and things like that.
Community part of extension of the community policing, really. But the tourism-oriented policing, we send people from Trinidad to be trained here in Miami.
And we need to get the defense force out of the barracks and patrolling our forested areas.
You know,
And along the perimeters, of the country. Get them out of the barracks and their quarters there, wherever they are, whether it's Chagaramas or the Tetron, I mean, what do you call it, Komoto, wherever they are, they have to put them on boots on the ground.
strategic points of entry into the island.
Yeah, they should be walking the forested area and the perimeter of the country on patrol.
Yes, because it has to be an all-out effort. Because once you're doing this piecemeal approach, we're not going to put any dent in the criminal activity. It has to be a coordinated, well thought out, integrated approach involving a wide cross section of personnel and equipment as well. And I always stress the technology. There's so much technology available for crime fighting. You hear they commit a crime in New York, and within 48 hours, they find a guy in LA. This is a massive country with 365 million people, and you could find somebody within 24 to 48 hours. We had just merely 1.4 million, and we take years to find persons. Come on, man! It must have some footprints to start. Where to check, where the leads are, these type of things. So the technology is already there. Is nothing that has to be invented. The forensics lab has to be a part of it. The database fingerprinting to be part of it, and all the other technology which you can implement. Eye in the sky, or you use drones, and 24-hour surveillance in certain areas, and let that feed the ground personnel who are involved in law enforcement. So it becomes an integrated approach. All these are the traffic lights and along the highway and so on. You can automatically read the number plates and see who are the travelers in it. As they are here. It's how it's been done here. It's always coordinated. The air branch sends information to the guys in the ground, send information to the marine guys, hide on their hideouts. I don't know if you know, like Miami on the intracoastal, they do have all their hideouts. The police marine branch has all the hideouts there, so they monitor you from the air, on land, and from the sea. So it's a coordinated approach. And we can use drones to a large extent to start patrolling these things. And we're not talking 1 and 2 and 5, 20 and 30 drones. Could be 24/7, crisscrossing the island at different times. You know,
I mean, we're so fortunate to have all these equipment nowadays, and there are a lot of people trying to have drones, and the government.
okay. Yeah.
I mean, the kind of money that's spent, we could have bought a hell of a lot more drones, with what they spent. But the auditing will be done, and the review will be done according to the mid-year review will be done. So we will hear what our government is coming, the findings coming in the parliament with. I'm so anxious, I can't hardly wait to tell you the truth.
Well, I like to think of any solution along lines of computer engineering, input, processing, and output. So let's say you are successful in the input, you're inputting your strategies and so on. The processing is where you're catching the criminals. But what is the output? Is that a pain point? Meaning, is that where it's clogging up the system? Then you got to improve the system. So at every stage, you have to find those pain points and remedy it. So no sense to catch the criminal, and you have to wait that length of time to do whatever you have to do.
The Ministry of Justice was created to deal with these issues. The rehab process,
Yes,
the
that is
court
part of
process.
it too. Yeah.
Like I said, I am totally against throwing a person for a minor offense to become a
That's
criminal.
right.
So
Correct.
we have to have community services. We have to have. I mean, we have so much work done in the country. So a lot of people have to be sentenced to cleaning up the country.
Yes, agreed. Totally
School
agree. That is
repairs. I mean, there's a lot of things to be done. So if you don't know what to do with your life, we can show you what to do.
yes. So that's the output part of it. The input, the processing, the output part, and the output part, I think, is where a lot of things are being clogged up, as well as the processing part, which is catching the criminals. So once those two, input part is the law enforcement, and we can use the technology there, as I said, with the drones and
all preventative. Every preventative resource must be fully applied and engaged. Threatening somebody with hanging, you could put that rope in front of them, they don't care about that. You could hang the rope in front of them, that wouldn't stop them.
no, it's like, you have to do it. You have to do it. You have to do it. That's why that's beginning to.
Yeah, but I'm saying, you talk about hanging. You talk about hanging, right, Mr. Suman, right? And that doesn't scare these guys. We have to put the resources in place up in their face.
Yes. So when the parents now go and take their younger siblings, the younger children, to watch a hanging, that's your brother there. What did he do, mama? He killed somebody there without, so that is where the process starts. The installation, the indoctrination of these kids into life. It has to be starting from the school and the parenting and the home and everything else, the churches. Everybody has a role to play. You can't prescribe blame to anyone. It's a coordinated effort that is required. You don't want to process hardened criminals by the time they reach the age 11. They have already graduated, not only from primary school, but like secondary school as far as crime goes. Like they have done the A levels and crime.
We have teenage students that are threatening teachers in the school and threatening.
That's common. That's common.
But like I said, we must put all the preventable resources in place. We have to get up and close and personal straight up in their face with the law enforcement resources that they decide to make that decision. We want to let them know what is coming up against them. That is what we have to do. The hanging is something down at the end of the rope. We have to be at the beginning. We have to put certain resources in place to intercept them,
Right.
and to prevent, to let them know that if they try that, there will be certain amount of resources being unleashed on them. That is what they have to know. They have to know that we are fully equipped and ready to respond swiftly, straight up in their face, if they decide to come in a community and go in somebody's house and rob them or kill
Yeah.
them or come into our business.
Yes, that is totally agree. I agree with that 100%, Gary.
Yeah, the rest that doesn't scare them. The hanging, yes, it could be at the end. That's the end. That's the end. That's not the beginning. The first thing
correct.
he has to do with intercepting them,
Prevention.
making that so effective that they would have to reconsider their decision to commit the crime.
Yes.
We don't want to fill up the jails and the courthouse. We want to prevent that. We want to save lives, and you can't save lives if we don't implement and put the right things in place to do so.
Yeah. But how long will it take? Another 10 years to put that in place?
No, that doesn't take 10 years. That part, the justice system might take 10 or 20 years to fix. But what I'm talking about, that can be done very quickly.
So it's a whole acculturation of people, the society, and everyone else, the schooling system, engage all the religious organizations, all these youth clubs, sports clubs. Is that integrated approach?
Yeah, but that's going to take time to build. I understand that. All that is needed, but what I'm saying, what is needed right now is to get boots on the ground, improve the resources on the ground for swift response and patrolling. Apply all the deterrent, and you'll see how quick that thing's done.
Well, I hope
when you hold them, you put them to work.
I'm hopeful, these things can be done as you suggested. And in the meantime, while this is being done, then you implement more long-term and medium-term strategies.
Yeah, all that additional thing, the education, the rehabilitation, your job training within the jail that they come out and you're equipped to do a job. You learn some plumbing, electrical or something, what you want to do. All that comes after, but the first priority of what we have to do is to work on the deterrence, prevention, the protection, the deterrence, and all that includes you have to do the patrolling, and you have to put the resources in patrolling. You have to make sure that the patrolling is properly well managed and accounted for, and the response is swift when you get a distress call.
Yeah, the community policing part of it is paramount in the whole exercise as well.
So I think that pretty much covers what we have to discuss tonight, Mr. Singh. If there's anything else you would like to add, I saw some developments with Tobago. You want to give us a little?
The Prime Minister did have some discussions with the chief sec in Tobago, and I see the opposition leader in Tobago, PNM opposition leader in the THA, complaining that UNC and the THA joined at the hip. Why is that discussion necessary? How can somebody be so? I won't want to say it in air, but so.
Yeah, can you give us a little about this 1.4 or at least 1 million?
Yes, that was done to upgrade some of the properties in the island. They give you, and from time to time, the THA does release of funds to some of the small guest houses and stakeholders in the tourism field to upgrade your property. Let's say somebody has 3 or 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 rooms. They give you grants to upgrade your property, to bring it up to a higher level, or as you say, a higher tier. And that tier will mean things like, good accessibility, good lighting, refurbishment of your rooms, things like, fire extinguishers, and things what you take for granted. If you have a pool, you have to have the relevant equipment around, life-saving equipment, and what have you. How often you change the water, the filters in the swimming pool, for example, and check the chemical content, the soda ash, the muriatic acid, and what have you, to ensuring that your bacterial level doesn't exceed, international standards. So these type of things, funds are allocated to upgrade your personal property, as the case may be. So I think that's a good thing.
It's like a municipal, let's say, assistant fund to upgrade.
Yes, it's a grant. There's also some soft loans, 2% and so on, loans which you can do. Let's say you want to extend your place. Instead of having 2 rooms, I want to extend this to 6 rooms or 5 rooms. So you got the low interest mortgages to take care of that. It's a way to incentivize the industry and to upgrade your room stock. So it's a good initiative. I always like that, when you can upgrade yourself to make yourself more competitive to the rest of the Caribbean region. So that was one of the initiatives done today. But the major things in Tobago is really the autonomy and the various.
And can you explain a little bit how that works?
The autonomy is basically to give the full rights for all activities on the island should reside in Tobago, save and except certain things. For example, national security remains in the hands of Trinidad and Tobago. Things like that, immigration. So there are certain things that reside out of the boundaries of Tobago. But basically, what is in Tobago, the THA should have full control over these activities. So, example, you have agriculture. The THA is responsible for agriculture. But some of these things were not officially handed over to the THA. So that's why they want more autonomy for these.
The PNM wanted to have them on a string, have a string around
always
their neck.
Because for 20 years, the PNM was in control of Tobago.
I understand most of the people there, they work directly for the government, so that's why they had them had a leech around their neck. There was a lot of independence.
You have to understand that pretty close to 60% of the population of Tobago, the adult population, are employed in the THA. So that is like the only form of employment on the island.
I have a friend who has a rental car business there.
Yes.
I know someone who has like a mechanic or a tire shop there.
Yes.
But
that's just what.
But those are people from Trinidad who went and opened business there.
Right. Yeah, but this is the autonomy bill is basically you give Tobago more autonomy to make their own decision making power.
And that airport has to be open, in a full-fledged way, not in a half-hearted way where you need to go to Tobago and you have to stop to Trinidad. This nonsense has to stop too. You should be getting direct flights straight into Tobago. That's something I stand for.
As a teller, I was a director of tourism on the island. I could tell you the headache I had trying to get airlines to fly into the island.
So what is preventing this from happening?
Okay.
On
One,
the aviation on the
no,
aviation.
there are several things. One of the things is like, let's say you take a international carrier like Virgin Atlantic, right? We had 2 flights with Virgin for the week, but then it dropped off to 1. Why? The airport facility, the Virgin flies with the 747, right? The airport perimeter fencing, that's an issue for the airline because they don't want this, a car coming over to the runway at the time the plane is landing. What is that? So the fencing of the airport was an issue. Then
So
there's,
fencing. Wait a minute. So fencing of the airport was an issue.
yes,
That seems like a minor issue.
correct.
It's a
Correct.
major problem, but it's a minor issue to resolve.
But who
The
controls?
runway was revamped, right? That runway was expanded under Robertson.
But who controls that? The Civil Aviation Authority. Where are they? Are they located in Tobago? Of course not. So you see, this is
why don't we have a division over there in Tobago?
No. There's no division there. This is what the autonomy is about. You see the problem, you solve the problem once and for all right there. You take decisions.
That is holding a leash over the people's neck, and we're not operating as a government of Trinidad and Tobago. It's a government of Trinidad.
Correct, and that is what exactly the point. You hit it on the head. This is what Tobagons were complaining all the time about.
Listen, I want to see flights going directly in Tobago from other countries. I want to see flights that inter-Caribbean between Tobago and the other islands. Okay, the port situation must be resolved, and the ferry situation has to be resolved also. And the ferry cannot just go between Trinidad and Tobago. We should have other islands come into Tobago because we're not that far from Grenada and the other islands either.
Well said. And all these things were part of the discussions, But coming back to the airport, which is a big, I'd say, anchor for tourism, having a good airport.
I mean, the landing strip is designed to hold the large aircraft, right?
That's
2000.
That's not the problem. That's not the problem, Gary. The runway is excellent. The building is nice. But did they meet civil aviation authorities prerequisites for an international airport? Okay. For an international airport,
that has to stop.
So if that criteria is not met, what's going to happen? That means the airport can be there for the next 2 or 3 years until they resolve that problem. And a large part of the problem lies because of their homesteads adjoining the walls of the airport, the runway.
They want a man like me to come and deal with it,
So if you notice, I
will get in their face.
And the NIDCO, who was the project manager for the airport, said, oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Well, just Google it and see. What are the requirements for an international airport?
Get up and put on your pants and boots and get the job done.
There's no more job again to be done because they broke all the laws, Gary. They broke all the laws with respect to building the airport. How are you going to... Listen, if you Google it, you see the perimeter fencing for an airport, international airport, must be at least 250 feet from the perimeter. In Tobago, it's 10 feet in some cases.
Oh, no.
You look at any big, in LaGuardia, you go to New York, Miami, here, Fort Lauderdale, you see the perimeter fencing, and there's a huge expanse of what looks like...
So the land space outside the airport is what, privately owned?
Where, in Tobago?
Outside the fence line of the airport.
Yes, those are private lands.
So what we have to buy it now? Is that what it is?
No, they did not. They did not pay people their relevant price for them to relocate, to be relocated.
to move the fence. They didn't pay for the people
They
who owns that land.
didn't
So
want
that
to
is
pay.
the
And,
issue that's
and,
preventing it.
and your famous Minister of Finance, Mr. Imbert, said we saved 46 million in that aspect of the work. So the PNM saved 46 million by not paying the people, and now ends up with a problem where the airport could never be regularized as an international airport because it failed to meet the criteria.
Okay, now I understand.
So you see what's going on. You have to knock down hundreds of houses now. Then you have to change the road, seal off that road, just to get that buffer between the perimeter fencing and the population. You look at any airport I just mentioned, you will see what the fencing is. That there are like another, half of a mile or 500 meters around the perimeter of the fencing that has nothing in it, just grasses on things like that.
Well, Mr. Suman, I want you to raise this issue as you go down into Trinidad, and in addressing that and see how best we can sort that out. That is something that has to be fixed. That is obstructing the flow of revenue.
I have given it a lot of thought, Gary, how that is to be solved, but you're never going to have the full-fledged license to bring in large aircrafts once you have that limitation existing. Right, you will get some smaller airlines trying to fly in there. Yes, no problem. But how are you going to really get the critical mass of travelers?
Well, you could have some inter-Caribbean flow but not for the large aircraft like a 747 or something like that.
Correct. You have to get clearance, and if the civil aviation does not approve, and you do not meet international flying.
So they didn't think about this when they were building airport?
They thought about it, and Nitco head, who was there, one Mr. George, he said, "Oh, that's not a problem. We will be able to meet all these prerequisites." Well, and your airport should be functional by tomorrow in June.
So is that perimeter of that airport has a chain link fence or something at this point?
Yes. Yes. You see, these airlines, I'll tell you what, these airlines does not want to risk any of their flying passengers, because you know how it is with airlines. It's millions and millions of dollars if somebody sue you.
But it's lives you're playing with. It's lives you're playing with.
Correct. So given that you're 10, 15, 20 feet from the airport, you could flash a torchlight in the night into the cockpit, or have some dazzling, some these neon lights or some of these X-ray lights and so on. And that damages.
I have an issue with the level of airport security that we have in Trinidad and Tobago. Number one, a lot has to be fixed with that. And let's see where things goes. But I have some recommendation, and I have friends in the Port Authority here in New Jersey who's willing to assist us with that. Yeah, but it's a lot of common sense thing that has to be done. There's not rocket science.
Yeah, and to see that the head of NITCO and the project, but the project managers was NITCO, and the head is saying that is not an issue. They have all the. Well, if that is not an issue, and if that airport doesn't open in June, you can bet it will be a long time thereafter to remedy that situation.
That's really talking about the summer vacation.
Yeah, it's the peak of the holiday season for flights between Trinidad and Tobago, but it was supposed to become fully operational in June, according to him. And it ain't going to be like that.
That was according to who? The previous government?
Yes, of course, the previous government.
So then we will be have to analyze that. I'm sure all of that is in the discussion with Folly and the boss lady, on that. I'm sure that is a part of the discussion. But see what you can find out and analyze the situation and see what we get.
Can you hold a second for me? I have something to attend to.
I want to welcome Nadira. Thank you for joining us, Nadira. So anyone in our listening audience has any issues to address, please let us know. You can put a message in the chat. So also, anyone attending any of the Indian Arrival Festival, we would like to get footage, uh, any kind of pictures in reference to the festival that's taking place. So please, let us know if you have anything to submit to us. Also, if there's anything that you would like to say in reference to the holiday or any issue you want to raise with us, we would like to hear from you. Welcome back, Mr. Singh.
Yeah, I'm back here. So what is the question you were asking me? Why is that issue not raised? I'm sure they.
What I'm saying is, being that you are familiar, you've been involved with that place, you try and get the final and investigate what's taking place, what's the plan of action, and let's see how maybe if you understand better what's taking place at this stage with Farley, you could know how to advise. Um,
But
so we have to talk to Farley and find out where he's at and what he's looking at now. These are the things that
well,
we have to
I know the discussion centered about 5 or 6 main areas. One was the autonomy bill and all the greater level of freedom for Tobago to start making some of their main decisions by
which
themselves.
I strongly support that.
Then there's a serious question of land tenure and titles in Tobago. As I mentioned before, a lot of land in Tobago was handed down from the plantation owners to the population who worked in the estates. Now, over time, the parents and so on gave their children lands, and they did not give them legal titles. In other words, they say, son, you are my eldest son, you build your house from this coconut tree to the next coconut tree, and all of that in front is yours. The second son will get from the mango tree to the coconut tree, like that. So everybody had and got their little piece. Now, they cannot take that piece of land that grandpa or grandma gave them to the bank to get a loan because there is no official title. So you see what the problem is. You have to work your entire life to build a house. And depending on, what kind of house or residence you want to build, that is the problem. So you don't have clear title. So there's no way you can raise capital and take out a loan to build out the house. And that is reminiscent of a large segment of the population in Tobago. You cannot monetize this land you have. So the boundaries were just like.
So it's costing 46 million to pay off those people. That's what it's costing.
But no, it's not causing that. That's how much he said he saved by not doing it.
Okay, so what's the cost? You don't know what the cost it will be.
Because now the cost can be a lot more, because if you have to meet the international requirements, you have to cross the road, and crossing the road. When I say the road, there's a road that passes alongside the perimeter fence. in Tobago is called the old Tobago Road.
So that road has to be relocated then.
Relocated. And then the houses there now on the other side have to be relocated as well to meet the minimum requirement of at least 250 feet from the perimeter wall. So you're talking a lot of houses, one, a lot of, guest houses there as well, a lot of them. So, and to hear the NITCO, the people respond.
That's on one side of the airport. What about the other side of the airport?
The other side is the seaward side, which is okay. That's fine.
I will have to see a diagram of it in order to understand better, but
I could probably send you something on that, Gary. You could think of it as east, west, north, and south. Three sides are okay.
Maybe you can do a presentation here. I want to try to explain what it looks like.
It's the northern side is problem. That's where the land and the houses are located. And that does not meet the international requirements. So I don't know how long that situation is going to take to resolve, if ever it's resolved successfully, to encourage the large airlines to fly into Tobago. Now, I don't know if you know, so that was one of the things, land tenure and titles. Another thing was transportation between the islands, both the ferry service and the Caribbean Airlines. I don't know if you know, but the last flight is 10 o'clock in the evening. So if you're in an international flight and you landed Piaco at 9 o'clock or 9:30 and you have to catch a 10 o'clock flight to Tobago, you have to sleep in the airport. Then the other thing is the Ministry of Legal Affairs. Do you know you can't get a birth certificate or death certificate or marriage certificate in Tobago? It was there. I was able to provide staff, ICT staff, to make sure that happened when I was there. But for the past couple of years, you have to go as of this date to Trinidad to get those things. I mean, a simple thing like this. And yet we're talking about digitization and digitalization, and we can, solve that simple problem. So that was part of it was under the discussions as well. So let's see how it goes. This was a preliminary 5-hour meeting. The Honorable Prime Minister told the Chief Sec that anytime we discuss anything in Parliament that has a Tobago input, you are welcome to be part of it. Even though he's not in Parliament, but he's welcome to be in Parliament at that time to discuss. So all these things are new ways of doing things, and I'm sure it met with wide acceptability in Tobago. That's for a start. So let's hope it augurs well for the relationship going forward.
All right, then. So maybe whenever you get a chance, you can bring it back, bring some more information to us.
Yes, because I'm in close contact with a couple of persons in that area, and persons who in the know, I should say, who are in the know. So those are pending issues. I really don't know how they're going to solve that problem with the airport already costing almost $500 million, 500 million in cost overruns already. So to incur another set of expenses to make it, make the airport meet the international requirements may require a lot more money.
I think it's very doable, and it's just a matter of how we manage the situation.
Well, Gary, listen to me. Airport is like a rectangle, four-sided. Three sides are okay. One side is not okay. And how are you going to resolve that one side when there are numerous buildings and roads and so on that side? And the international regulations say you must have be 250.
So is there anywhere we can shift the runway at this point if we can't move the houses?
That is what should have been done in the first place.
But is there room? What I have to know is there land space there to shift the runway?
No, they'll have to fill up the sea. You have to fill up some portions, but from halfway, now you have to fill up the ocean, which they have done in a lot of the Caribbean countries as well. To all the Caribbean countries, as far as I know.
So we change the route how the plane comes in, and it approaches from the sea, and you change the angle of the landing strip, right? And that can be done, right?
That could be done. So then you have to change the perimeter walls and so on. Now that has to be done, but to incur another $500 million, when it should have been done in the first place. You know, it's like building a new house.
That is PNM for you. That's the history of the PNM for you.
And this is what they will be talking about. You see, in Tobago, they never had a say on that airport. They never had a say on the construction of that airport. It was all done by the Prime Minister to leave a legacy. That's why they had this quick opening. They call it soft opening. But don't worry, by June, July, everything should get all the required licenses and so on. Well, let's wait and see. At the end of the day, it's the people of Tobago who suffers, not the politicians. It's the people who suffers. And not only Tobago, the Trinidadians as well will suffer from it.
Is this what we're looking at here now?
Yeah, correct. And if you look right down to the very end, you will see how close, even at the beginning, how close on the left-hand side at Sandy Point, from the ocean there, towards the landing strip, that very initial space is Sandy Point. So that's some of the rooms they have to be. It's in what they call in the flight path. That definition. It's in the flight.
So what are those buildings there? They are hotels or something there?
Yeah, it's Sandy Point Resort. That's what I'm saying. It's Sandy Point.
I never been there, and
okay.
Based on the, go ahead.
And if you look at the alignment of the airport down to the very end, you'll see it's as close to the actual runway as in the beginning. So you see where Sandy Point is, that all these red roof buildings there, how close that is to the runway. Look at the very end, Gaskin Bay Road and so on, down at the end there, it's just as close. So those are two breaches. On the southern side, which is towards the ocean on the right, that's okay. Right. You see, right, this building here, just outside this building is a road. Right?
This building is the international airport. This is the airport there, actual airport there, right?
This is the actual airport. But nothing has been built out inside. Inside is just a shell. There are no stores, no judiciary thing, no immigration. Only one little section now is where the old immigration was. Nothing else. But this thing has to be built out. That's why they call it a soft opening.
So this is what Dr. Raleigh rushed to build and didn't finish.
To open before he leaves. That is exactly the point. We built this for Tobago, but Tobago, TH, not having any input into it.
So no consultation. Right. That's why the runway.
Zero.
Where is that? Yeah.
Zero consultation. Zero consultation, my friend. So let's see how much more is it going to cost now. They get the requisite licenses and build out build out the infrastructure inside. And don't forget, it has $450 million cost overruns on this airport already. Right? And their claim to fame is, oh, we saved $46 million by shortchanging the people. That's that's the word I wanted to really get to you. By shortchanging the people from moving from where they were supposed to acquire. They saved $46 million. Well, but they had a cost overrun of $450 million. Only when Wade Mark, bust the mark on them, so to speak, no pun intended, that this was revealed. Then he admitted, yes, there was big cost overruns. And then he said, it was all lies, Gary. In short, first he said about 246 million and this and that, all kind of figures, from his head. And when it all adds up, he said, oh, yes, you are right. There's 450 million cost overruns. That's a 45% cost overrun on a building. Could you imagine? Suppose it costs $1 billion. And mind you, nothing has been built out inside. So you form your own opinion, my friend, of the level of squandermania that has taken place there.
That's the second name for PNM, right? Isn't Mr.
Yeah.
Cost overrun is PNM name.
And
Cost overrun and
it's not that 20 and 30 and 50. They're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. No wonder, I don't know. The same thing may have happened in the Port of Spain block. In the hospital in Port of Spain, they built a wing. And the same thing may have happened. We don't know what is the cost overruns on that project. From what I understand, is only one floor is completed. The fifth floor was.
Well, let's compile the information you have and let's see how we can discuss this.
But I guess the Minister of Health will be the best person to address the Port of Spain issue. I guess civil aviation.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that. I'm talking about in reference to the Tobago situation. I want to get as much information with the layout of things and where we need to be at and all these kind of things.
Okay.
That international flight, that place what has to be done, how did they say, raise the bridge or dredge the river, or for me is move the mountain if you have to, but we're going to get it done. And, so we want to better understand how we can approach this to resolve this issue.
Think of it, Gary, that you built up your brand new house in Lange Park, but you only built 3 feet from the neighbor's fence. So what they're telling you is you have to break down your house, part of your house down.
Yeah. Well,
that is the situation what's going to happen. Either you do that or you buy out piece of the neighbor fence. Like I said.
Can we widen the runway a little bit? With all that is money, we have to look forward to doing that.
Correct. After spending $450 million more than expected, now you have to come up with additional monies now.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll catch up tomorrow night. Thank everyone for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
Well, take care and have a good one.
All right.
We'll see you tomorrow.